Hi class, it's Instructor Fran, and I'm back for week 2 to talk to you about what the work we're doing here, how it ties into the workplace and even into the work that I do, to give you a specific example. So there's no new learning objective for week 1 that we're going to tackle. We're going to still work on thinking about how we adjust our writing to our specific audience, and hopefully you saw the video where I talked about the 4 key things that I think about, especially in the workplace when I'm writing a piece and considering my audience. So this week, we are going to be writing a review. And I have a video and an announcement that goes out on Wednesday of week 2 that describes the details, some explanation of how to complete the assignment. So I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to talk to you a little more about reviews and the workplace. So a review is a specific genre. And I think you probably talked, if you took English 110 before this, you talked about the word genre. But genre is a category of writing that's usually defined by its purpose and its structure, like its organization. So when you think about a review, you're usually providing your audience information about whether you're evaluating, you're saying the level to which something is meeting standards. So there's so many different ways that people do reviews in the workplace. Like teachers might write reviews of students' performances, of class performances, of class curriculum. Managers might write reviews for their employees. People in businesses might write reviews of products in order to suggest or to not suggest them being bought. People write reviews for artwork, like movie reviews or book reviews or album music reviews. So there's all different ways that people write reviews in their career. And I'm going to bring up the example of because along with teaching, I write for a publication. I write for a quarterly magazine, I guess that you'd call it, that we have for the teachers here at University of Phoenix and the administration. And so one thing I often do is, if I like to read books that have to do with teaching or articles that tie into teaching, and I write a review of the book or the article. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how I would approach that. And I think it has crossover to any type of review that you have to do, including the review that you're going to do for week 2's assignment. So when I'm thinking about a specific genre, and we'll talk more about this later, but I think about what sort of structure is going to be expected in that genre. And lots of the time, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion are really helpful to have in any type of writing, any genre, but specifically in the review genre, it's really helpful. So when I'm writing a review, in my introduction, I need to make sure that I give background information on what I'm reviewing, so my audience is clear on exactly what it is. So in my example, if I'm writing a review of a book about teaching, I would say the specific name of the book. I would say who wrote it. I would give a brief summary explaining what the contents of the book were, in order for the audience to have an idea of what I'm writing about. Okay, and any type of review that you do, it's a good idea to name what you're reviewing as specifically as you can, what organization or who it's by, or, you want to make sure all the relevant people are tied in the introduction. And you want to make sure that you give background, a summary of what's going on. Okay, another great thing to have in any type of review is to state if you have some sort of thesis, some main idea you're trying to prove through your review, it's really helpful to state that in the introduction so it's not a mystery. So if I was reviewing a book and it had a particular idea, I might have my thesis towards the end of my introduction explaining whether why I think that idea is an important idea or why I think it can be dismissed as not important. Okay, then I have a body, and just like lots of bodies in writing, that's where we're working to prove our thesis. So if I'm writing a review, I might bring up key points and some evidence. Maybe I have quotes from the book, and I explain why those quotes ring true in real life. If I'm writing a review of music, maybe I have quotes or I explain some qualities from the music, and then I analyze that evidence and explain why it supports my thesis of to buy that piece of music or to not buy that piece of music. So I really think about the body as being the meat where you're trying to prove your point of your review. And then a conclusion is usually like summarizing your main points. It's tying it all together. You don't want to just repeat your thesis, but you want to kind of explain why the conclusion, why the ideas that you came to, why they are important. So in my case, if I'm writing a review on a book for work, then I would want to explain why I think those ideas that I brought up were important for my audience to consider. So any type of review, think about the structure, the introduction, the body, the conclusion. Think about in the introduction having context and a thesis, in the body having evidence and proving your point, and in the conclusion tying it together and making sure the audience understands why this information you presented was important. Again, as we talked about last week, keep this all in the backdrop of making those good choices for who your audience is going to be for this review. So I hope that helped, and I'd love for you to think about ways that you do reviews in your life or in your workplace. And please reach out to me with any questions.